Assalamu alaikum and welcome once again to Chai with Rohima. On today's program, I have a wonderful guest, Mr. Tariq Ali. He's CEO of a number of companies, including a nutraceutical company. Being born in the UK and brought up and educated in the UK, and also having been in the Ministry of Justice for 12 years, Tariq then embarked on a new area of his career, and that is in setting up businesses in Bangladesh. Welcome to the show, Tariq. It's lovely to have you here.
Yes, likewise. Thank you for inviting me here.
No, thank you for coming. Tariq, please. We'll go straight into it, and I'll just ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing at the minute.
Okay, sure. So currently, we're in the nutraceutical, health and beauty sectors, and we essentially come up with products and goods. We then develop them, do all the branding, and essentially take them all the way to market. And we've got various goods within the nutraceutical sector. We've got trademark products, and those are geared towards both topical and consumable goods.
Okay, but that wasn't your primary career. You started off after leaving school. Please give us a bit about it, because I know being in the Ministry of Justice, it's something that a lot of people just dream about.
Yeah.
But then you've kind of turned your back on that after a number of years. What made you decide that the Ministry of Justice wasn't something that you wanted to pursue as a career? Because you could have easily have climbed up the civil service route.
I think initially when I was in school and college, we all have aspirations as to, career options, and I always wanted to become a lawyer. So that was always my career ambition, and I geared towards that. And as I got older, I applied at various legal firms, law firms, for jobs, and I must have made applications to more than 100 law firms, and I must have been rejected more than 100 times as well. But I never gave up. I carried on because I always believe you have to persevere, and one day you'll get there. And there was an opportunity once with the Ministry of Justice, and I made that application, and I thought it's a long shot, because these small law firms are rejecting me. They're most likely to reject me, but it's just by routine. I made that application, and I got an interview with them. And when I walked in, it was a panel interview of 3 people, and I was this young teenager, and I thought, there's no way I'm going to get this, So I sat in there, did the interview. I didn't really put much effort in, and I left. And then a few days later, I got a phone call from the Ministry of Justice, and they said, congratulations, you've got the job. So I'm like, wow. How did that happen, And then they said, but, and I thought, what do you mean, but? They said, you did exceedingly well, that we don't want to give you the job that you applied for, we're going to give you the next job above that. So it was an immediate promotion, and that was a huge boost to my own personal motivation. And so, that's where I began working for the Ministry of Justice.
That's quite inspirational in itself, because as young people, especially with the pandemic, unsure of where they're going to go or how they're going to be graded, or they were going to be graded and so forth. And even for those now who are entering that section into what they want to do for a career, your perseverance, and it must have been hard, as you said, to have those knockbacks, but to have some belief in yourself that you're capable and able to do those things. I mean, obviously, you've proven to where you are now that, you had that sense of maturity to look into things that may not have just made themselves presentable to you, but to just try. And that's really commendable. I really do commend you on that, because I guess I had a similar thing, and I had an aim to go for Parliament, but it came up in a similar way, But as you said, there's lots of things that you try to do or you aspire to do, and you don't go forward with the knockbacks, you push yourself forward.
Absolutely. I mean, you'll get knockbacks. It's part of life, you know. You'll always get knockbacks, and but you can learn from it, and you don't give up, you persevere. If you've got belief in yourself and you've got ambitions and, you know, you want to do something, then I say go for it, you know. If you don't try, you'll never know. As I said, I must have applied for more than 100 law firms, and everyone rejected me. But then the Ministry of Justice, one of the biggest law people that you can get, organisations, they accepted me. And it was I was there for a long time, and I moved around.
About 12 years.
It was about 12 years, yeah.
12 years. You know, most people having got that kind of position, or within that route of civil service and being in the Ministry of Justice, would have continued along that route and not thought about anything else and made that their career. However, what made you want to aspire for more or do something outside of that? Did you have any experience in any of these other areas that you've, you know, the nutraceutical areas?
Yeah.
Did you have experience of that?
I didn't, to be honest. No, that came quite fresh. It was again a new ambition later on in life. But going back to the Ministry of Justice, when I first began working there, within 2 years I got promoted about 3 times, all the way up to court manager. And it was at that point I got invited to an event at the Ministry of Justice HQ. So back in the day, it used to be called the Lord Chancellor's Department, and then it changed to the Department for Constitutional Affairs, and eventually the Ministry of Justice. So I've seen all the transitions between the 3 different brandings of the actual ministry. But I then got invited to this event, and I remember the office that I was working in. It was pretty small, but you know, small offices give you lots of experience. That's what I say.
Yes, absolutely.
When you're working for a larger organisation, you're a widget, and you're part of a widget with everyone else, and it all kind of comes together. When you're working for a smaller office, so we were in a small office of about 30 people, you get to see everyone's jobs and their roles, and you can kind of do their roles and move around and gain experience in all the different areas. And that's what I did, and that eventually took me up to become court manager. But as I was saying, I went to this event once at the headquarters, and I was talking to these 2 old gentlemen, and I was having a bit of a whinge. And I was saying how difficult it is, and we need more staff, and you know, these efficiencies could be made, and you know, you could do various things, and no one was listening to us. And at the end of the conversation, they gave me their business cards. So the first gentleman gave me his card, and it said Sir Paul Jenkins QC. He's the Director General of Law.
Yeah.
And the other gentleman was Sir Hayden Phillips, who's the Permanent Secretary to the Lord Chancellor. I'm like, yikes, you know, the wrong people, I shouldn't have said that to them.
Do I still have a job on Monday?
Do I still have a job on Monday? But you know what, it was one of the best things I ever did, because they said, listen, we've got a job going for in the Legal Directorate, and we think it will suit you. Apply for it. And I thought, why not? You know, they're telling me to apply for it. Let's try it. And I did, and that's how I effectively got into the Legal Directorate of the Ministry of Justice, working with, you know, more than 100 of the best government lawyers. And, you know, the work that we did there was amazing. So things like the Data Protection Act, which came out, that came out from that office, the Human Rights Act. I was also part of the Criminal Procedure Rule Committee, where all the rules for the criminal courts are made. So it's been a phenomenal journey.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, it's such a prestigious position to be in, and one that we don't really hear about in the mainstream, or our youngsters and those who are watching. Please take note. I mean, the reason I brought Tariq on is because he's an amazing young man, and I say young man because he, you know, he's always dashing, and he's achieved a lot. And I don't know his age, just so you know, just to let you know that. And I've not asked; it's impolite, because if he returns the favour and asks me mine, I'd tell him. But no, for our viewers out there, I know it's confusing. I know it's very difficult right now, and there's lots of young people who have mental health issues who can't see where they, the light at the end of the tunnel. They're wondering where they're going to go, what they can aspire to. There's some amazing lessons that can be learned just by listening to you over the last 10, 15 minutes. It's having belief in yourself. Trying to make the path, so keep on applying, don't get disheartened, and once again, as you said, it's one of those things. We always think there's a barrier, there's a glass ceiling, and that it can't be shattered, broken, or other. Well, you proved that could be shattered within an instant.
Absolutely,
and that it, for most it does exist. I wouldn't say that it doesn't. It does, but once you've shown your capabilities and they're recognized, the reward is there, for hard work and perseverance and patience, and the reward is there. But as you said, 12 years in the Ministry of Justice, and not just office cleaning, bearing, and you talking about it being a small office. Most people think a small office is between 5 and 10 people, I'll have you know, Tarek.
Right.
Not 30 or...
Right. No, so my first office was 30, and then I went into a much larger building of 3,000 people.
Wow,
so I did then become part of a widget.
Exactly.
But going back to your question where you were saying what made me change career paths.
Yes.
So I spent an awful long time in the legal directorate. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I worked with some amazing people. And it was my colleagues who were telling me, Tariq, you're wasted here. And I was listening to them. I didn't believe in myself. They can see what I was capable of doing. I didn't have that confidence or that belief that, I can go out into this big world and, the world is my remit. I didn't have that belief. And it was because of my colleagues pushing me time and time again. I thought, well, there is another world outside, and maybe I should look into it. And the nutraceutical business came about because I was quite fortunate to travel around the world, even when I was working for the ministry, and visit various countries, and even more so prior to the pandemic, a few years prior to the pandemic. And I came across products and goods in different countries, which I realised are not available in the UK, and I'm talking about health products in particular. Because I was a bit more health conscious, and you were saying about mental health, and you got to look after yourself and that kind of thing. So I thought I want to bring back some of these things back to the UK where it's not available for various reasons. And so that's what we did. We picked up products, brought them to the UK, we redeveloped them, and we kind of made the products compliant with UK legislation. We rebranded them to make them very British and appealing to the British public, and we've been very successful at doing that, to the point where by the end of the year we're looking to push our products out into the EU, and we're constantly developing new products to target different market areas.
But these the products that currently that you are producing, it's not big pharma, it's nutraceutical. So although it's not herbal, it's more, but they're natural products anyway.
Of course, yeah. It's still regulated, so we've got our own chemists and and doctors and everybody. They look at the ingredients, they help us develop those, and then they go through their testing. We've got all the paperwork.
That's
before
such
we
a
can take it
change
to
from.
market.
That's such a change from working in the ministry.
It is.
To such a difference there.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. We're going to go to a short break in a moment, and when we come back, we'll talk more about how you moved from one career to another, and how that journey was, and where it's taking you. I look forward to seeing you when you come back after the break. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the program. If you hadn't joined us before, my guest for this evening is Mr. Tariq Ali. He's the CEO of nutraceutical companies and also an import. You do import and distribution
in
also,
Bangladesh,
right?
yes.
So we spoke earlier about how your career started within the Ministry of Justice. If that's okay, then I think maybe we could talk a little bit about how you transitioned from working for government to the private sector and how you expanded on that. What, a little bit more about what led you to that.
So one of the reasons I went into the Ministry of Justice is because of my interest in law, and that's why I stayed there for a very long time. But in life sometimes interests change as well. And so, I wouldn't say I was getting bored of it, but I wanted new challenges rather than the normal kind of 9 to 5. I wanted something more challenging, more stimulating to me. And so, eventually I did take the plunge and I left the Ministry of Justice, and I was quite fortunate because from the age of 19 I've had a property business which I could fall back to if I needed to. So working for the civil service is very secure. Private sector is quite different, and this was the first time I was going into private sector, albeit self-employed as well. So my first company was a medico legal company based in Harley Street, and I made a decision to do that using all of my network, my contacts within the ministry and the private sector, and we had 20 doctors and surgeons working for us who were providing medical evidence in court. So it was all within my remit, and that worked very well for us. And then from that we had other spin-off businesses, so there was like documentation that needed translating, and we got it done outside numerous times, but it was more efficient for us to do it ourselves and make money from it as well. So we started a translation company, and then from that we went into insurance litigation. So where there were insurance companies, as we know, they never like to pay out, and it was we were on the other end telling them, no, you have to pay out. We were using various legislation that we had knowledge of, as well as using forensics if we needed to, and compiling reports, putting it on their desk, and then they were making payments.
That's quite. I was going to say it's not labour intensive, but it's very mentally challenging and intense in its workload.
But it's something that we thoroughly enjoy doing. I've been doing litigation since I was a young boy. I remember when I was around 18, I litigated against British Gas. I litigated against Europcar when I hired a vehicle from them, and they didn't put a VAT clause on there. They challenged me for it, and I challenged them, and eventually they conceded. And throughout the whole of Europe, they changed their contract because of me.
Oh, wow.
So I've never shied away from litigation if I have to. Obviously, there's vexatious litigation, which is something completely different. But where you need to, you have to. You've got rights, you can go and do that. And so I helped with the insurance litigation. We helped numerous clients fight their right and, get their claim. So eventually, from traveling and, I picked up that there's a new sector. I took a new interest in a different area, and we can move in life, we can change careers, and it's totally fine. And one thing I've learned from my experience, as well as experience from speaking to lots of other people like yourself and various other people from our community, is that when you're in your 20s, it's okay to go around, try different jobs, learn different things, gain that experience. You don't have the commitments when you're much older that you will have. You're young, you're dynamic, find what you're good at. And I speak to a lot of people, and for example, we're going to use law again. I know lots of law students who pursued law while studying, but after they finished they moved into totally different careers, and there's nothing wrong with that. They decided that it's not for me. But so move around in your 20s, find what you're good at and stick to it. When you're in your 30s, by then you will know what you want to do, and find somebody who can mentor you. So if you're going to go into law, find a good lawyer who could look after you, teach you things, and you can learn lots of them, from them. By the time you're in your 40s, that's when you should roll your sleeves up and think, you know, I've got all the experience that I want, I've got the confidence, I've got the people around me, and this is where you should really go and do what you want to do. And then when you're in your 50s, it's slightly different in that, you know, you could sit back a little bit. You should be recruiting younger, new blood, as we were speaking earlier, because younger people are very dynamic. They come up with new ideas, different things, show you, you know, methods and systems in a different way. So you bring in the younger people to kind of run your company and business. And, you know, you could be on a beach somewhere, perhaps in Dubai, enjoying the fruits of your labour. Absolutely.
And I think, you know, one of the things that I've also noticed is you mentioned about the youth, but the youth here and the youth in Bangladesh, they're so much more dynamic.
Absolutely, yeah.
Than when we were younger. And I know it's due to the digital age and everybody getting used to it. I mean, I can't get used to a 1-year-old who knows how to, you know, put YouTube on and how to find you know, any of the programs with just a flick of the finger. I mean, we were very lucky if we were allowed to even touch the TV.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, youth is dynamic at the minute. There's lots of information at the touch of a finger. There's a lot of help and goodwill around from lots of people, lots of organisations. You and I both part of one. You recently became the Secretary General of the UKBCCI London region, which was launched. And I, since I'm also the Director of International Trade Affairs for the UKBCCI, I mean, you know, one of the things that we thrive on is helping others to find their path and their way. And one of the things that is really important, and I know we've spoken about this on and off screen, is that those that are wondering how they can move forward, who are young enough, who have little confidence in themselves, and obviously COVID's played a big part in that. It's cut down a lot of the things, but now's the time to come back, find out what it is you want to do, and start making those inquiries, start writing those letters, start reaching out to people, because there is a lot of help out there for those that want to either be entrepreneurial and look at different skills. Tarek is successful because he's always persevered, and he's also tried, and you know, even with the fallbacks and the knocks, he's always also decided that that's not what's going to hold him back. And I want to say to the young people out there that, you know, please don't be disheartened. Things will change. They do get better. And as Tarek said, if you're in your 20s, now's the time to have a look, see where you want to go, try many different things, and then find the thing that you're good at and you have a great interest at, because that's what will hold your attention and is what will give you more success. You know, there's no way that, although you talk about being, you know, when you're in your 40s or when you're in your 50s, so there's no way you're going to be any of those. However, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's an opportunity for everybody to see, and you know, a number of my guests, and you included, they're dynamic in their own way. And it's that dynamism that I like to see and like to project to youngers, because I want to see our young, you know, British, Bangladeshi young children thriving. I want to see our businesses moving forward, and you know, we'll go on to how you've actually reached out, even though you were born and educated in the UK, you reached out to Bangladesh. So, you know, I mean, we will be going into a short break. So after the break, we will be talking about how the business in Bangladesh and how the route was for that, and how Tarek found his way into starting up his company. So do join us after the break, and we'll have another session and talk about what inspires and how you can be inspired, we hope. Stay with us. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the program. Viewers, thank you for staying with us, and those who have just joined us, we are here this evening with my guest, Tarek Ali, who is the CEO of a nutrapharmaceutical company, but also has done well. He was born and brought up in the UK and is now starting to do work in Bangladesh, setting up businesses in Bangladesh. I mean, how interesting. Where do we start? First of all, why Bangladesh?
I've always seen Bangladesh as an economic powerhouse. It's obviously a developing country and it's going places. I remember when we were both together at the Trade Mission in 2019 and we were in Chittagong, and we had the minister in front of us and we had the press in front of us, and one of the questions I asked the minister was, is Bangladesh going to be the next China? And I really believe it will be, because it's super developing at a phenomenal rate, to the point where I believe it's going to become a tiger economy. Tiger economy meaning countries like Malaysia, Taiwan, China. Bangladesh will become one of those. In fact, Goldman Sachs has ranked Bangladesh as one of the next 11 countries to watch as a economic powerhouse. So there's lots going on and lots of positives there in Bangladesh.
Yes, even the IMF, they've totally. I think the world is focused as far as developing countries are concerned on the progress that Bangladesh has made. And as you mentioned, we were together on that delegation. And I felt that those who were with us and joined us at that time, it opened their eyes to the opportunities that are available to them, and also what Bangladesh has to offer in terms of business and the government's assistance that that it's trying to give for foreign investment, and particularly to help NRBs to reinvest in Bangladesh. You have started a company in Bangladesh, and whilst we were on a short break, Tariq has a young family, and and we were talking about how wonderful, because it's getting those youngsters interested in Bangladesh, and you've made that transition from doing something that is so worthwhile, i.e. was with the Ministry of Justice, and then saying, but actually I could do something else, and I could do something which I'm really interested in and more worthwhile. So, I mean, how has that been? How has that come about?
I think the Trade Mission opened up my eyes quite a bit, that we can do business in Bangladesh. And when I go to Sylhet to visit family there and friends, often people say, oh, please find me a way to get to the UK or to the USA or Middle East. And I say to them, why? You've got Dhaka on your doorstep. Dhaka is a mega city. To put it into context, London is a large city. Dhaka's much smaller. London's population is 7 million. Dhaka, you've got 20 million. So immediately, it tells me that, there's a lot of business to be done in that city. And, that's where the import distribution idea really came about, started in Dhaka, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's not just workforce, but that's also customer base. When you have that amount of people in the population, and particularly that 80% are under the age of 25, I mean, that's a huge amount. And all that wealth and knowledge, and as you said, the young, they have, aspirations, and you're there to inspire those aspirations. So how easy was this journey? How did you, setting up businesses in business in Bangladesh, having been born and brought up here, how was that? I mean, I know you probably have relatives in Bangladesh, but I know from personal experience that things are not, you do a lot of things. There are a lot of people who want to help you, but not sure. And when it comes to the next generation, I've got a business, if I'm not there, how is that going to work? But of course you thought through all those things.
Well, kind of it's been a learning curve as well. So I threw myself in the deep end. You see, the first element was the dream. So I saw a dream. Without a dream, you can't really go and do business. You need to have that aspiration inside you. And if you don't have that ambition, then you can't go and pursue something. So, I did simple calculation, like Dhaka, 20 million people, you need to find a product, something relatively cheap. And if you sell it to 20 million people, and even if you make 1 pence profit, that's £200,000. So, it's just a no-brainer, So I need to get myself there and I need to do business. So that was the aspiration. And then when I got there, it's like, okay, so this is quite different. And like you said, it's actually very different. And, you will have pitfalls and you will have difficulties. And, it's not their fault. Another question I asked one of the ministers while we were there at the trade mission was that why is it in the UK I can open up a company within, say, 15 minutes online, but in Bangladesh I've been trying for 3 months and I still haven't been able to open up a company? And the short answer is that their regulations, their legislation is quite different to that of the UK, and we've got to respect that, we've got to understand it. So, for example, the banking sector, in the UK, we follow UK and EU legislation. The banking sector in Bangladesh, they follow Asia financial regulations. So it's quite different, and it's not necessarily the government's fault that these requirements have to be met. And that's why sometimes it might take a little bit longer than what you anticipate to open up a company. But once you've done it, then it's done, And sometimes it's important that, going from the UK to Bangladesh, it's like it's like a blackboard, and I had no idea what I was doing, and then I found my way around and used my contacts and connections, but also I employed the right people in the right places. So, we've got our own legal team, for example, and they're handling a lot of the elements of things. We've got various other people in different positions who are helping us, make our business into something more fruitful in Bangladesh. So sometimes, it's not, you can't do it all on your own. You need to employ people locally, I guess.
But it's also, you have to have a little bit of faith and integrity within yourself, that you'll, continue on this road. And as you did in the beginning, and you seem to do this, this is an innate trait of yours, is that to persevere. If it's something worth having, then it's worth the, it's worth holding on to.
Absolutely, yeah. And in Bangladesh, it's absolutely worth having. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I was saying, if I owned a toothpaste company, I would base it in Bangladesh. and the reason is this, that Bangladesh for manufacturing it's got huge benefits. So immediately you've got various tax exemptions, you've got 20% VAT exemptions, you've got import exemptions, you've got there's so many exemptions for NRBs to go in and invest in Bangladesh. So when you tally all that up together, you're going to save about 50% of what you would have spent if you were manufacturing in the UK. So if there's manufacturing companies out there, Bangladeshi or any other kind, I would really say look into Bangladesh, to invest into Bangladesh. The labour's a lot cheap there as well. So in total you could save maybe 50 or 60% more than what you would.
Yeah, I mean the government has made many offers, and concessions for those who want to take manufacturing into Bangladesh, and again, we talk about the various sectors that are open for business in Bangladesh, and the sector that you're moving in, it's also a new and developing sector, not only in the sense that there are a number of products that are related to the company that you want, which is not just looking at pain relief, but also healthcare and how would you say this? I suppose it's beauty products, but is it just mainly for men or for women?
We're diversifying, so that starts off for men, and then we're diversifying. So that's what it's all about, and that's why we've got
forward to seeing you progress.
Yeah, thank you.
Bring those dreams forward, because, as you say, it is a road that you have, Alhamdulillah, you found it, and you said Bismillah, and you made it. You're walking this road, and we're all with you. We're all supporting you with this, and we hope you do really, really well. But one of the things I think is really important to bring out on the program is the interest coming from somebody who wasn't born in Bangladesh, was actually born and raised and educated here, but now feels that it's a good time to take their family and follow that investment and that dream. I mean, you know, that's such a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, Bangladesh is an amazing country. I was, as you said, I was born here. The first time I went to Bangladesh was when I was 12 years old. And while I was there, I didn't feel as though I had a good experience, but when I came back, I thought, wow, that was good. And my father took me back numerous times after that, and eventually I fell in love with Bangladesh, with the people, with the country, with everything, and then slowly went into business. And you know, now I want to, you know, I dream to move my whole operations to Bangladesh one day in the future, and be based there. As I say, it's going to be an amazing country. There's so much redevelopment going on, not just economically, but the infrastructure as well. So,
Yes,
you know, it's going to be a lot more comfortable for people from the UK to go to Bangladesh, for NRBs to go to Bangladesh and visit it and see it for yourself. And you know, a lot of people go on holidays to various European countries, and I say, why do that? You know, go to Bangladesh. It's really developed now.
It's a great opportunity in the last couple of minutes of our program, just to say and to reach out to people and say, if you've never thought about it, those youngsters who are feeling that there isn't anything, I do hope you get the opportunity to go to Bangladesh and have a look at what the opportunities are there, as well as those that are coming in, you know, for bilateral trade. It's a really good opportunity for you to encourage our youngsters and inspire them. And I thank you once again for coming onto the program and giving us you know, a bit of a snapshot of your journey to success. And we wish you all very well. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. আমরা এখন কিন্তু আমরা প্রোগ্রামটা তো শেষ হয়েছে কি, so I just want to thank you for staying with us, and thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.